Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. You guys send us incredible stuff to wade through, and today is no different. We're diving into your AI Daily News Digest. So much going on in the AI world right now.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing to see it all happening at once.
Totally. And for this deep dive, I thought it'd be fun to pull out the projects with the most potential for, like, real-world good.
AI for social good, absolutely. Tons of that in here, actually.
Yeah. I saw that OpenAI model. It cost over $1 million just to run. That's got to be good for something, right?
Well, that's the O3 model, and yeah, it's kind of a mind blower.
1.6 million.
For one run.
Inference, they call it. It's how the model actually, like, thinks about a problem. Apparently, it's computationally really expensive.
Okay, but it did get that 76% score on the ARC-AGI-SemiPub benchmark.
Right, which is significant, definitely. That benchmark tests for pretty advanced problem-solving skills. It's all about, like, can the AI reason abstractly?
But at that cost, I mean, is it even worth it? That's the debate, right? Some people think it's a huge leap forward. Others are saying it's just brute force with a ton of processing power.
And that's not really AI, is it? Just throwing more computing power at a problem.
That's the million-dollar question. And there are some whispers that the delays with GPT-5, OpenAI's next big language model, could be related to this. Like maybe they've hit a wall with this approach.
So maybe we need to be looking for a different path to real AI. Less about power, more about elegance.
That's definitely one school of thought. But in the meantime, there are some other projects in your news digest that are making incredible progress, particularly in the medical field.
Yeah, the stuff with MedMax and that MGH Radiology Llama 70B, that stuff is blowing my mind. Like actual AI doctors, is that where we're headed?
Not quite doctors, but they're definitely powerful tools that could change healthcare as we know it. MedMax is really interesting because it's multimodal, so it can help analyze images, text, all kinds of medical data to come up with diagnoses and treatment plans.
So it's like having a super-powered medical assistant who can see everything at once. And what about that Radiology Llama, the MGH one?
That one's specifically designed for radiology. It's like having a specialist on call 24/7, helping radiologists interpret those complex images, speeding things up, improving accuracy, all that.
It's crazy to think about the lives that could be saved just with faster, more accurate diagnoses.
Right. But of course, whenever you start talking about AI and healthcare, you have to think about the ethics of it all.
Totally, like patient data privacy, all of that.
Yeah.
And making sure these tools are being used responsibly, not just replacing doctors altogether.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance, harnessing the power of AI, but always keeping the human element front and center.
Speaking of mind-blowing, what's the deal with these AI agents that can pay themselves in crypto? Sounds like something out of a movie.
Well, it's not quite robots taking over the world, at least not yet. But this new API from OpenRouter lets developers create AI agents that can manage their own finances. So yeah, you could have AI agents negotiating contracts, paying for cloud resources.
Hold up, paying their own bills? That's wild.
It is pretty wild. But think about the potential for social good. AI agents managing charitable donations, distributing aid in disaster zones, all without human bias or delays.
Okay, that I can get behind. But still, I gotta ask, what about the risks? AI controlling money, doesn't that sound a little, I don't know, risky?
It's definitely something we need to be cautious about. You need to make sure these systems are built with strong security and ethics in mind. No Skynet situations.
Yeah, no robot uprisings. But it seems like this whole crypto agent thing points to a bigger trend. This move toward more autonomous AI. And speaking of fundamental shifts, let's talk about tokenization.
Ah, yes, the building blocks of how language models understand the world.
Remind me how that works.
So basically, they chop up text into little pieces called tokens, and that's how they process information.
Okay, but why is that a problem?
Well, there's this growing idea that tokenization, while effective, might actually be holding AI back. There's this example, the strawberry test, where you ask an AI to reverse the letters in strawberry, and it struggles because it's treating the whole word as one big token.
You can't see the individual letters.
Right. And that's where Meta's new model, the byte latent transformer, or BLT, comes in. Instead of tokens, it processes byte sequences directly.
Bytes, like the things computers use to store data.
Exactly. And this allows for a much more granular understanding of language.
So is this the future of AI then? Ditching tokens and going all in on bytes?
It's too early to say for sure. BLT is still pretty new, but the early results are impressive. There are certain tests where it's gone from 0 to 60% accuracy just by switching to bytes.
Wow, that's a pretty dramatic improvement.
Definitely something to watch. But while we wait for the byte revolution to unfold, let's talk about something a little more down to earth.
Down to earth. in the world of AI.
Well, as down-to-earth as it gets, that AMD versus Nvidia rivalry, that's always a fun one to follow.
Always a battle for the top spot, it seems like.
Right. Your news digest included a report from SemiAnalysis comparing AMD's new MI300X chip against Nvidia's H100 and H200.
And who came out on top?
Well, it seems like Nvidia is still king of the hill. They've got this thing called the CUDA moat. It's their software platform and ecosystem. It's a huge advantage.
So even with all the hype around AMD, they're still playing catch-up.
Yeah, for now at least. But AMD has a history of coming from behind. They're making progress, especially with their ROCm software on Linux. So don't count them out just yet.
It's exciting to see this kind of competition, though, right?
Yeah.
It pushes everyone to innovate and do better.
Absolutely. So we've got OpenAI pushing the limits of what's possible, medical AI that could revolutionize healthcare, and then these self-funding AI agents.
It's almost too much to process. But where do we even begin to figure out which projects have the most potential for good? That's what I want to dive into next.
Yeah, that's the tough part, right? Like, how do we even measure which projects are going to have the biggest impact?
I mean, the medical stuff seems like a no-brainer, that those LLMs that could change how we diagnose and treat diseases.
MedMax, MGH Radiology, Llama 70B, those are huge, yeah. We're talking potentially millions of lives impacted.
Millions. Just from better diagnoses.
Think about it. Faster, more accurate diagnoses lead to better treatment plans, less time wasted on wrong treatments. It could even accelerate drug discovery, finding cures faster.
Okay, that's hard to argue with. But, those self-funding agents, that idea just keeps coming back to me. It's like, what if we could create these AI systems that could manage charities or microloans?
Ooh, that's interesting. Taking human bias out of the equation.
Exactly. Distributing resources where they're most needed without all the bureaucracy.
It's not just about the specific task, though, is it? It's about the fact that if we can create AI systems that are self-sufficient, they can operate at a scale we can't even imagine right now.
So, they could be out there solving problems 24/7 without needing humans to manage them. That's pretty powerful stuff.
Think about disaster relief, for example. AI could be coordinating aid, distributing supplies, even providing medical assistance in real time, all while humans are still, dealing with the immediate crisis.
That's a powerful image.
Yeah.
But I guess it raises the question, where do humans fit in then?
It's not about replacing humans. It's about augmenting our abilities, like giving us superpowers to help more people more effectively.
Superpowers, I like that. But what about BLT, that whole bite thing? Does that have any social good angle?
It might seem like a purely technical thing, but remember, those fundamental breakthroughs, they often have the biggest ripple effects. If BLT can really make LLMs more powerful, more capable, that'll impact everything.
So it's like laying the groundwork for even more amazing AI applications down the road.
Exactly. Better tools lead to better solutions. But all this fancy AI stuff, it's expensive, right? Not every organization has millions of dollars lying around to throw at these projects.
Yeah, that's a good point. Access is a huge issue.
But that's where open source comes in. There's a lot of cool stuff happening in the open source AI community focused on making these tools more accessible.
Open source. So anyone can just use them.
Pretty much, yeah. Your digest mentioned this project called Aider. They do AI coding assistance. They just had a competition using their new polyglot benchmark, tests coding skills across a bunch of different programming languages.
How did it go? Who won?
OpenAI's model took first place, not surprisingly. But what's interesting is that the open source models, like Sonnet and Haiku, they weren't too far behind.
So it's not just the big guys dominating anymore.
Exactly. More competition, more innovation, that's good for everyone.
But even with open source, you still need hardware to run this stuff on. Those high-end GPUs are expensive.
True, but the News Digest had some good tips for people on a budget. That Nvidia RTX 3060 12GBD seems like a good balance of price and performance.
And if you go pre-owned, the 3090 is a contender, right?
Yep. And don't underestimate those older cards, like the RX 580 and GTX 1060. They can still be useful for certain tasks.
Wait, but what about compatibility? Don't some of those older cards have issues with CUDA?
Yeah, good point. CUDA is Nvidia's thing. It's not open source. But there are alternatives, like ROCm, especially if you're using Linux.
So there are workarounds.
Totally. You don't need $1 million budget to start experimenting with AI. That's the point.
That's awesome to hear. But I keep thinking about those medical LLMs. Those just seem so full of potential. It's like, that's where we could really make a difference.
I agree, they're really exciting. And it's not just about diagnosis and treatment, it's also about research, drug discovery, even personalized medicine.
Personalized medicine, that sounds pretty futuristic.
It is, but it's getting closer all the time. Imagine a world where treatments are tailored to your specific DNA. No more one-size-fits-all medicine.
Wow, that's amazing. So we've got all these incredible projects out there, but is there anything else, maybe something under the radar,
Yeah.
that you think has that same level of potential?
Actually, there is one thing in your digest that caught my eye. It's called Unsloth AI.
Unsloth AI. Okay, I gotta admit, the name doesn't exactly scream cutting edge.
Yeah, it's not the most inspiring name, I'll give you that. But trust me, this one's worth a closer look.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more. What's so special about Unsloth?
It's all about speed and efficiency, specifically when it comes to fine-tuning AI model.
Fine-tuning, right. That's where you take a general AI model and you train it for a very specific task.
Exactly. Like you're taking a general purpose tool and sharpening it for a particular job.
And Unsloth helps you do that faster.
Much faster. And it's designed to be really user-friendly, so you don't need to be an AI expert to use it.
So smaller organizations, nonprofits, they could use this?
Absolutely. Imagine a small nonprofit working on, say, food insecurity. They could use Unsloth to fine-tune a model that can identify families at risk.
Or a community group using it to, optimize the delivery of aid after a disaster.
Exactly. The possibilities are huge. And that's why I'm so excited about it. It's a perfect example of how open source development can democratize access to AI.
Putting these powerful tools in the hands of people who can really make a difference. I love that.
Me too. It's a reminder that AI isn't just for big tech companies, it's for everyone.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. Million-dollar models, AI doctors, crypto trading agents. It's mind-blowing.
And don't forget about those bytes. Who knew they were the key to unlocking the future of AI?
Right. But it's clear that AI is rapidly changing the world, and it's up to us to make sure it changes for the better.
Absolutely. With all this power comes great responsibility, as they say.
Well said. We need to be mindful of the risks, but also embrace the potential of AI to solve some of humanity's biggest challenges.
Couldn't agree more. It's an exciting time to be alive, that's for sure.
It is. And on that note, I want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI for social good. It's been a fascinating conversation.
My pleasure. Always love talking about this stuff.
And to our listeners, we hope you've enjoyed the ride. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI. Who knows what amazing discoveries await us in the future?
That's what makes it so exciting. The future is unwritten, and we all have a role to play in shaping it.
Well said. Until next time, keep diving deep.